I'm about to tell you something that might change the way you look at everything that's been happening to you lately. Because if you're watching this, I don't think it's random. I think you've been feeling something, a shift, something you can't quite name, something in the air around you that feels different from how it felt 6 months ago or a year ago. Like the weather is about to change, but the sky still looks the same. You can feel it coming. You just don't know what it is yet. I do. My name is Celine. I'm 50 years old. I've been reading energy for over 20 years. I've sat with over 8,000 people, and I'd say at least half of them came to me with some version of the same question. When is love coming? Is there someone out there for me? Am I going to be alone forever? Did I miss my chance? I've heard it 1,000 different ways from 1,000 different people, and the pain underneath it is always the same. It's the pain of wanting to be chosen, wanting to be seen, wanting someone to walk into your life and look at you the way you've been dreaming about since you were old enough to know what love was. I'm going to tell you 3 signs that your soulmate is close. Not signs I read about in a book, not signs I pulled from the internet. These are patterns I've seen with my own eyes, in my own readings, over and over for 20 years. When these 3 things start happening in someone's life, the person they're meant to be with is almost always within months of arriving, sometimes weeks. I've seen it too many times to doubt it. But before I give you the 3 signs, I need to tell you something important. And I need you to really hear it, because most psychics won't say this, and most soulmate content on the internet actively avoids it. Your soulmate is not going to save you. I know that's not what you want to hear. I know you want me to tell you that someone incredible is coming, and they're going to fill every empty space inside you and make all the loneliness disappear and finally make you feel complete. That's the fantasy. That's what sells tarot readings and love spells and manifestation journals. And it's a lie. Your soulmate is not a rescue mission. They're not coming to fix you or complete you or fill a hole that's been open since childhood. They're coming to meet you as an equal, as a partner, as someone who matches your energy, not someone who replaces the energy you never learned to generate for yourself. And that distinction matters more than anything else I'm going to say today. Because if you're waiting for someone to save you, you'll miss them when they arrive. You'll be looking for a savior, and they'll show up as a human being. And human beings are messy and complicated and imperfect, and they will disappoint you if what you needed was a god instead of a partner. Now, with that said, here are the 3 signs. Sign number 1. Your old life starts falling apart. This is the one nobody wants to hear. But I've seen it in reading after reading after reading for 20 years, and I cannot ignore the pattern. Before your soulmate arrives, something in your current life has to break. Something has to end. Something has to be cleared out to make room for what's coming. And it almost never feels like clearing. It feels like destruction. I had a client named Vivian. She was 47 when she came to me. She'd been divorced for 3 years, and she was finally starting to feel stable again. She had a decent job, a small apartment she liked, a routine that kept her sane. She wasn't happy exactly, but she was functional. she was surviving, and she'd made peace with the idea that surviving was enough. Then, in the span of about 2 months, everything collapsed. Her company laid her off. Her landlord sold the building, and she had to move. Her car broke down, and the repair cost more than the car was worth. Her best friend since college moved to another state. It was like someone had taken a broom to her entire life and swept everything off the table in one motion. She came to me, panicking. She thought she was cursed. She thought the universe was punishing her for something. She couldn't understand why everything was being taken away when she'd already lost so much during her divorce. She said to me, "Haven't I been through enough? What did I do to deserve this?" I read her energy, and what I felt was not destruction. What I felt was renovation. The energy around her wasn't chaotic or hostile. It was deliberate. It had direction. It had purpose. Something was being dismantled, yes, but it was being dismantled the way you tear down walls in a house before you rebuild it. Not because the house is worthless, because the house is about to become something much bigger than it was. I told Vivian that I felt someone coming. Not immediately, not that week or that month, but soon, within 6 months. And I told her that everything falling apart wasn't punishment. It was preparation. Her old life had to break, because her old life didn't have room for what was coming. Her small apartment didn't have room. Her dead-end job didn't have room. Her routine of just surviving didn't have room. The universe wasn't destroying her life. It was making space. She didn't believe me. She left that reading, polite but skeptical. I could feel it. She thought I was giving her false hope, dressed up in spiritual language. I understood that. When you're standing in the rubble of your life, the last thing you want to hear is, "This is happening for a reason." 5 months later, she emailed me. 1 paragraph. "You were right. His name is Thomas. I met him at my new job. The job I only got because I lost the old one. We've been together for 6 weeks, and I've never felt anything like this in my life. Not even with my ex-husband. Not even close." She came to see me again a few months after that. She was a completely different person, not just happier, rebuilt. She told me the whole story. After she lost her job, she'd applied to dozens of places. Nothing was working. Everything she was qualified for felt like another version of the same dead end she'd been in for years. Then a friend mentioned an opening at a nonprofit that worked with foster kids. It paid less than her old job. It was in a different part of town. It was nothing like anything she'd ever done. Every logical part of her brain said, "Don't do it." But something in her gut said, "Go." So she went. Thomas was her supervisor's brother. He came by the office one afternoon to drop off lunch for his sister. He saw Vivian, introduced himself, and asked if she wanted to grab coffee sometime. Simple as that. No app, no algorithm, no grand romantic gesture. Just a man in a doorway and a woman who happened to be sitting at a desk she almost never applied for, in a job she almost didn't take, in a life that only existed because her old one had been swept away. Every single thing she lost led directly to him. The job she lost led to the new job. The new job put her in that office. That office put her in front of Thomas. If one single piece of her old life had stayed intact, she would never have been in that chair on that afternoon. The destruction was the path. She just couldn't see it while she was standing in the middle of it. That's how it works. The old has to go before the new can arrive. If your life is falling apart right now, if you're losing things you thought you needed, if doors are closing that you didn't want closed, if the ground under you feels unstable and uncertain, pay attention. It might not be destruction. It might be preparation. The universe might be tearing down walls because someone is coming who needs more room than your current life can offer. Sign number 2. You start feeling a pull toward a version of yourself you've never been before. This one is subtle. It doesn't announce itself. It creeps in quietly, like a thought you keep having that doesn't seem to come from you. You start wanting things you've never wanted before. You start thinking about places you've never been. You get an urge to change something: your hair, your style, your neighborhood, your career, your daily routine. Something in you starts shifting, and it feels restless and exciting and terrifying all at the same time. I had a client named James, 52 years old, accountant for 30 years, divorced, 2 grown kids, living alone in the same house he'd lived in for 2 decades. He came to me for a general reading, not specifically about love. He said he just felt strange. He couldn't explain it. He said he'd started doing things that made no sense to him. He bought a guitar. He'd never played an instrument in his life. He signed up for a cooking class. He'd been eating frozen dinners for 3 years. He started taking walks at 6 in the morning, something he'd never done, and he couldn't explain why. He said he felt like he was being pulled toward a life he didn't recognize, like someone was rearranging the furniture inside him, and he was just watching it happen. When I read his energy, I could feel it immediately. His energy field was expanding. That's the only way I can describe it. For years it had been tight, small, contracted. The energy of a man who had shrunk his life down to the bare minimum after his divorce and stayed there because it felt safe. But now it was opening up, stretching, reaching outward in directions he'd never explored. And it wasn't random, it was directional. His energy was moving toward something, toward someone. It was preparing him. I told him what I saw. I said, "You're not losing your mind. You're becoming the version of yourself that your soulmate is going to recognize." The guitar, the cooking class, the morning walks, those aren't random impulses. Those are your energy reshaping you into the person you need to be when they arrive. Because the person who's coming isn't going to fall in love with the man you were. They're going to fall in love with the man you're becoming. James met a woman named Linda 4 months later at the cooking class. She sat next to him during a pasta making workshop, and he said something that made her laugh so hard she spilled flour everywhere. They've been together for 2 years now. He told me she loves that he plays guitar. Badly, he said. She loves it anyway. She loves the morning walks. They do them together now. Here's what I need you to understand about this sign. The pull you're feeling towards something new isn't restlessness. It isn't a midlife crisis. It isn't boredom. It's your energy aligning you with the frequency of the person who's coming. Because soulmates don't just show up randomly. They show up when you're vibrating at the right frequency to receive them. And sometimes becoming that frequency requires you to change, to grow, to try things that scare you, to become someone you didn't know you could be. If you've been feeling that pull lately, that strange urge to change something, try something, become something different, don't fight it, follow it. It's not leading you away from yourself. It's leading you toward the version of yourself that someone out there is already looking for. Sign number 3, you stop looking. This is the one that makes people angry because it sounds like a cliché. It sounds like something your aunt says at Thanksgiving. It'll happen when you stop looking for it. And every time you hear it, you want to scream, because that's not helpful. That's not advice. That's just something people say when they don't know what else to say. But here's why it keeps being true. And I'm going to explain the energetic reason behind it, not just the greeting card version. When you're actively searching for love, when you're on the apps every night, when you're analyzing every interaction, when you're walking into every room wondering if this is the person, your energy is in a state of grasping, reaching, straining. And that energy has a frequency. It's the frequency of lack, of desperation, of I'm not enough on my own. And that frequency actively repels the person you're trying to attract, not because they sense your desperation consciously, because energetically, grasping and receiving are opposite states. You cannot grasp and receive at the same time. It's like trying to inhale and exhale simultaneously. One cancels the other. I had a client named Michelle, 44 years old. She'd been single for 5 years after a brutal breakup. She'd been on every dating app. She'd been to singles events, speed dating, matchmaking services. She'd spent thousands of dollars trying to find love. She was exhausted. She came to me and said, I've done everything. I've tried everything. I've manifested. I've journaled. I've done the vision boards. I've said the affirmations. Nothing works. What's wrong with me? Nothing was wrong with her. Her energy was just in the wrong state. She was gripping love so tightly that she was strangling it before it could reach her. Her entire energetic field was a clenched fist. And you can't receive anything with a clenched fist. You receive with an open hand. I told her to stop everything. Delete the apps. Cancel the subscriptions. Stop going to events hoping to meet someone. Stop manifesting a partner. Stop journaling about love. Just stop for 3 months. I told her to spend those 3 months doing absolutely anything that had nothing to do with finding a partner. Learn something, travel somewhere, volunteer, redecorate her apartment, read books she'd been meaning to read, call friends she'd been neglecting because she was too busy chasing love. I told her to fill her life with so much of herself that there was no room left for the ache of wanting someone. She thought I was crazy. She said, if I stop looking, "How will I find them?" And I said, "You won't find them. They'll find you. But only when your energy shifts from searching to living. Only when you stop being a woman looking for love and start being a woman so full of her own life that love looks at her and says, 'I have to be part of that.'" She stopped. It was hard. The first month, she said, she felt like she was giving up. The second month, she said, she started to feel lighter. By the third month, she said, she'd forgotten she was supposed to be looking. She was too busy. She'd signed up for a hiking group. She'd started painting her bathroom. She'd reconnected with her college roommate, and they were planning a trip to Portugal. She met David on the hiking trail on a Sunday morning in October. He wasn't on any app. He wasn't at a singles event. He was just a man on a trail who asked if she knew how much further it was to the overlook. She said about 20 minutes. He said, "Mind if I walk with you?" She said, "Sure." They've been together for a year and a half. She told me it was the easiest relationship she'd ever been in. No games, no anxiety, no analyzing his texts at midnight. Just easy, just right, like breathing. That's what happens when you stop grasping and start living. Your energy shifts from lack to fullness, from searching to radiating. And that radiance is what draws your soulmate in, not your profile pictures, not your manifestation rituals, not your affirmations, your fullness, your aliveness, your refusal to wait for someone else to make your life worth living. So let me bring it all together. If your life is falling apart, if you're feeling pulled toward a new version of yourself, and if you've recently stopped obsessing over finding love, all three of those things happening at once or close together is not a coincidence. It's a signal. It's your energy clearing the path, reshaping you, and opening your hands so you can finally receive what's been trying to reach you. I don't know when your person is coming. I can't give you a date or a name or a location. But I can tell you that the energy doesn't lie. And if you're feeling what I just described, they're closer than you think. Closer than they've ever been. Stop looking for them. Start becoming the person they're already looking for. That's not a cliche. That's the reading. I'm Celine. Your energy doesn't lie, and neither do I.